welcome back everyone. It's been a while. It has indeed. Well, this time I want to talk about Mages of Mystralia, an interesting little indie game that I've currently been delving into. Got the copy of a Kickstarter a while back, but only now really getting into it, and oh my god, I am loving this game intently. And it is one of those like diamonds in the rough kind of thing. You just don't expect this game to be as good as it is, considering how little there is out there about it. Now, while I wasn't exactly taken with the game at first due to its kind of blocky, poly approach and terrible writing, its overwhelming charm and that old school adventure style mechanics quickly made me rather entranced with this brilliant little gem. Now, Mages of Mystralia released about a month ago now, but it seems to have been completely missed by the general games media and the community at large, which is a shame really, as what's there is a rather charming, fun, and at times challenging action-adventure game with a lovely world to explore and engaging combat. Possibly this is because there has been so much around dominating the news cycles from smaller studios and much larger ones as well. And this from a small studio with their first game, and well, it's hard to stand out and get the attention it so desperately deserves. The problem I think with this game is that the early experience is not a great one. That first impression with both the graphical style, the combat, and well, the terrible dialogue just doesn't really leave that first good impression. You have this utterly unlikable mentor whose statements and responses seem to have no internal logic, with the whole conversation literally being the exact same information over and over again, just in different words and different sentences. It's the whole, "You're a wizard, Harry" moment, but instead of people wanting to teach you and look after you, it's a boot out the door and some save the world kind of logic. Over and over again, you get this same style of narration with a new mage, an untrained mage, being told they need to do something incredibly dangerous to save the world and blah 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 because reasons, while the rest of them sit in their comfy little cottages probably laughing at the new dumb idiot they've got. That's the intent I get from this story, and it's obviously set up to give you a little bit more personal responsibility within the story, but in terms of a narrative, it fails utterly, and it's a terrible trope done even worse than it usually is. There is just no consistency there in the slightest between the reasoning and this intent. And then you have the obviously terrible, evil mastermind you're meant to be working against the entire story. And it's just that overblown, idiotic, evil to the extreme. Evil because evil kind of thing, you know? There's no logic there as well. There's just some sort of... There's no logic, there's no consistency behind his actions. Just the, power for power's sake. Destroy for destroy's sake. It's a very, very weak story because of it. I'm really enjoying the world design so far, and while it does fall prey to certain roadblocks that make the game feel a little constrained originally, once you start getting a few more abilities and spells, it starts to open up rather quickly. It's also rather hard to express just how well it seems to invoke that like old school adventure action feeling in the vein of, say, Legend of Zelda, with the world design and the elements of progression, but they're also adding a certain modern flair and polish on top, which seems to lighten, make it a bit more accessible as well as enjoyable. The levels themselves just seem to have this reasonably nice flow about them, with following the certain path and how you unlock various aspects around them. There are smaller side spaces along the way to uncover with NPCs, as well as various puzzle elements that unlock new gear and spells and other useful items. It's the kind of design that gives you plenty of direction, with the narrative that pushes you ahead along a straight path, but not enough to feel too forced, as there is a lot of freedom in the elements it gives you, from breaking down little barriers, using a spell in a different way to open up a new area. All those kind of things add up to make a world that feels, Like it's open for exploration. I'm really enjoying the puzzle elements so far too, and will actually go out of my way to find them and complete them because they're just rather fun. One puzzle out in the world revolves around connecting certain lines with a pattern, so the lines can flow from one spot to the others, and then lighting up to, give you some sort of bonus. It can be done with a trial and error approach, but there is a consistent and constant logic to these puzzles, which is easy enough to figure out, but gets to sort of a diabolical style of situation where you have many interconnecting dots that you're trying to figure out where to put where they go next. They are great little puzzles. There are also certain teleportation circles that take you to various instances and areas that range between a puzzle using spells and all that kind of thing, jumping puzzles, using new abilities in a certain ways, twitch skills, and even horde mode style combat in order to, say, unlock that area and attain great rewards because of new spells and all that kind of thing. And there is a good range of them there, and while some of the spell puzzles can be a little fiddly with getting that exact moment or spot active, they're enjoyable to figure out and complete in the meantime. And I have to say, the enemies themselves show a decent range of skills and abilities with various upgraded types where you need to watch and counter the attacks they have just right with a certain attack style and even spell type. The bosses are much the same, with learning easy to see and understand attacks and cues with various spells and abilities. They are their own little puzzle as well at times, and that's a great thing to see. Now with combat, it revolves around a spell book you have that constantly grows through the game, from small, easy to understand spells to this complicated, interconnected woven spell that you craft around you. You do have a range of spells with a certain basic effect like a force, fire, ice, and electricity that you have at your disposal. But then, and from the beginning part of the game, you use these in various ways to overcome puzzles, kill enemies, and that kind of thing. It's a good little introduction in that way, but a little simplistic. But then you start getting these certain various modifying spell skills to use with the previous ones that change the spell in often useful and dramatic ways. One of the earlier examples is one of your spells is like a static fire you can place on the ground. Enemies can move into it, be damaged, so it does work a little bit. But suddenly, once you've added a move modifier to that spell, it becomes a fireball that blasts out. There was a puzzle where I even needed to add like a left modifier onto that fireball that made it travel in a circle to activate points. A command to increase the ability aspect made one of my small electrical slashes into like a mini explosion. And then later on, modifiers that allow extra commands upon a certain specifier, like my fireball hitting an enemy and then becoming an electrical explosion. It's a lot of fun to play around with and remarkably intuitive. The controls make it rather easy to switch between these various skills as well. You gain access to save more and more of these adapted spells as you go and can switch between them in combat quickly with a couple of button presses. It made combat this amazing aspect of firing off various spells to target the right creature with the right effect. A juggling act of spells, and it's magnificent once you get the hang of it. I'm loving the world building so far with how well it invokes old school elements of how you interact and explore. The encounter system with the various enemy types and styles and spells is remarkably intuitive and complex. And then you have all these various hidden elements and puzzles set around the world too that invite and reward this exploration and intuitive spell system. The narrative is definitely not a strong point with forgettable characters and both cringe-worthy animations and dialogue, but the low-poly, colourful world still makes it all rather charming in the end. It's an amazing game and one I truly hope gets the attention it deserves. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.